Et ça y est, c'était Céline Dion pour bien clôturer la première partie de notre émission. On va se retrouver juste après le Parlement. Take care et on se retrouve. Direction le Parlement avec Patrick Hilbert et Priscilla Sadien. Bonjour Patrick, bonjour Priscilla.
Bonjour Samira, bonjour à tous. Merci, vous pouvez rejoindre nous pour la séance de la PNQ. Private Notice Question, leader l'opposition Joe Lejonga, axé sur une présumée violation de ban dispositions régissant ban dépenses électorales lors de ban élection générale de 2024 en vertu de la Representation of People's Act. Question qui est adressée à Premier ministre Navin Ramgoolam. Joe Lejonga ou les gagnent l'information lors d'une éventuelle plainte qui finit déposée à ce sujet. L'IP demande aussi une précision lors l'avancement de ban plainte, date et que ban poste de police côté ça fin enregistré, ban circonscription ainsi que ban élu concerné et que nom de ban dimoun qui fin entendu par la police. Patrick Hilbert, bonjour.
Bonjour Priscilla.
Patrick, ban candidat aux dernières législatives, qui soumettent la liste dépenses à la commission électorale.
En effet, Priscilla, au moins 6 députés de l'Alliance du Changement finissent déclarent un total excédant 150 000 roupies, dépassant ainsi le plafond autorisé par la Representation of the People Act. 6 députés concernés, Raj Pentia, Sandy Prayak, Kaviraj Soukon, tous les 3 de la circonscription numéro 7, Piton-Rivière du Rempart, Richard Duval du numéro 17, que Pip Midlands, Kevin Le Kiram de la circonscription numéro 12, Maïbou, Plaine-Magnan, et Véronique Le Govin du numéro 14, Savane-Rivière-Noire. Selon l'article 51 de la Representation of the People's Act, un candidat indépendant ou soutenu par un parti politique peut dépenser jusqu'à 250 000 roupies. Toutefois, si son parti présente d'autres candidats dans la même circonscription, la limite est réduite à 150 000 roupies. Cette clause ne mentionne cependant pas explicitement, Priscilla, le thème alliance. Et Richard Duval, selon sa propre déclaration, lors de sa dépense, qui arrive en tête de ma dépense électorale, totalisant 248 375 roupies.
Et sinon, tout à l'heure, Patrick, lors de la Prime Minister's Question Time, un prêt accordé par une institution publique à Diana Vartam Limited, société immobilière et hôtelière liée à la famille Ramdani, le dossier Air Mauritius ou encore l'agression d'un petit fille de 6 ans Côte-Lie à résidence à Barclay pour retenir à l'attention une vingtaine de questions adressées au chef du gouvernement Navin Ramgoolam.
Donc parmi les autres questions, il y a le député Roshan German qui s'intéresse à un prêt consenti à Diana Vartam Limited en 2022 et 2024 par la State Bank of Mauritius et la Mauritius Investment Corporation, filiale de la Banque de Maurice. Le député aussi demande au Premier ministre d'obtenir de la FCC le nombre de personnes interrogées ou arrêtées à ce jour. Nitish Bijan élargit le champ à l'ensemble de prêts décaissés par la State Bank of Mauritius à Diana Vartam après 2014 et puis demande un point de cote de l'enquête de la FCC fin arrivée. Le député indépendant franco-kirin interpelle le chef du gouvernement sur l'urbaine mesure en cours pour garantir la sécurité publique autour des stations et à bord des wagons du métro express. Sa seconde interpellation concerne l'agression d'une fillette de 6 ans survenue le 24 novembre dernier à son domicile. Le député franco-kirin demande des informations sur l'avancée de l'enquête policière sur les circonstances de l'arrestation du présumé auteur. Roshan Chaman s'intéresse aussi à une autre affaire qui ne fait beaucoup de bruit. C'est un audit externe des ventes d'avions par Air Mauritius durant l'administration volontaire. Le cannabis, c'est également à l'ordre du jour avec une question du whip de l'opposition Adrien Duval. Et la National Agency for Drug Control, est-ce qu'il prévoit de charger le futur comité technique sur la dépénalisation d'inclure l'usage récréatif? Donc c'est ce qu'Adrien Duval peut demander. Et si ce n'est pas le cas, pourquoi?
Et puis, 2 projets de loi à l'agenda ce mardi. D'abord, Law Reform Commission Bill qui est pour présenter en première lecture par l'Attorney General Gavin Glover. Ce texte-là prévoit une refonte majeure de l'institution dans le but pour renforcer, révision et amélioration cadre législatif mauricien et surtout pour moderniser nos systèmes juridiques. Place ensuite, Patrick, à un débat, le Road Traffic Amendment Bill, qui vise à renforcer la sécurité routière. Ce projet-là, il prévoit réintroduction permis à point, ainsi qu'une série de 33 infractions avec un amende doublée qui est capable d'atteindre jusqu'à 500 000 roupies. avec suspension automatique permis dès qu'il 15 points accumulés. Et le projet de loi pour peut-être adopté aujourd'hui pour qu'il une mesure prend effet dès janvier de l'année prochaine.
Donc Priscilla nous rappelle que le Road Traffic Amendment Bill est présenté en première lecture la semaine dernière. Donc cette fois-ci, ce seront les débats sur ce texte de loi, un texte de loi très important parce qu'il, comment vous pouvez dire, permettre la réintroduction du permis à points. Donc permis à points qui est abandonné en 2015, mais le gouvernement pense nécessaire qu'il relance le permis à points à travers le Road Traffic Amendment Bill. Donc l'objectif, c'est de renforcer la sécurité routière, de diminuer le nombre de décès, le nombre d'accidents sur nos routes, le nombre d'actes illégaux sur nos routes. Donc les automobilistes n'ont qu'à bien se tenir, car chaque infraction sur la route entraînera un retrait de 2 à 10 points selon sa gravité. Par exemple, Priscilla, une course illégale ou conduite dangereuse, il vaut 8 à 10 points. Excès de vitesse de 15 à 20 km à l'heure de 4 à 6 points. Téléphone au volant, il vaut 3 à 6 points. Non-port du casque ou la ceinture de sécurité jusqu'à 4 points. Donc dépassement d'un véhicule arrêté à un passage piéton, refuse de priorité au transport de passagers dans un ben ouvert d'un pick-up, c'est jusqu'à 6 points. Parmi les infractions qui est passible de 2 à 4 points, on a le non-respect des feux de signalisation, le non-port du gilet fluorescent, de pneus usés ou l'utilisation d'équipements lumineux non autorisés, entre autres. Faire asseoir un enfant de moins de 10 ans devant ou ne pas mettre le clignotant avant de tourner, il y entraîne également jusqu'à 4 points. Et de points accumulés restent valables pendant 36 mois. Dès que le seuil maximum est atteint, le tribunal est capable de suspendre le permis de 6 à 12 mois et en cas de récidive, le permis peut être carrément annulé avec un cours de réhabilitation obligatoire.
Merci pour toute cette bonne précision-là, Patrick Hilbert. Donc, nous pour aller en direction de l'Assemblée nationale pour suivre de cette PNQ qui toujours pas encore commencé. Nous rappelle que la private notice question du leader de l'opposition Joe Lejonga axée aujourd'hui l'urbaine présumée violation de bonnes dispositions qui régit à dépenses électorales lors de l'élection de 2024 en vertu de la representation of... Voilà, donc nous prendre tout de suite la direction de l'Assemblée nationale.
Announcements none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank
Your
you.
private notice question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice question addressed to Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice question addressed to Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Home Affairs and External Communications, Minister of Finance, Minister for Rodrigues and Outer Islands, whether in regard to alleged breaches of the provisions governing election expenses incurred in relation to the National Assembly elections 2024 under the Representation of the People's Act, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain from the Commission of Police and the Electoral Commissioner information as to whether any complaint has been reported in relation thereto, indicating in each case where matters stand, further indicating the A, dates thereof and at which police stations, B, constituencies and elected representatives concerned herewith, and C, names of the persons interrogated by the police as at date. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honourable
Yes,
Prime
Madam
Minister.
Speaker. The elections were held on the 10th of November 2024, and the results were declared on the 11th of November 2024. As per Section 56(1) of the Representation of the People's Act, the election agent of a candidate who has been returned or declared elected shall, within 6 weeks of the results of the elections, make an election return to the returning officer for the constituency in which he acted as an election agent. Every return shall be in the Form K of the schedule to the Representation of People's Act and shall be sworn before a magistrate by the agent by whom it is made. In addition, every return shall be supported by a declaration sworn before a magistrate by the candidate stating that 1. The return fully and accurately setting out all the payments made by him. 2. To the best of his knowledge, information, or belief, the return is a full and accurate return of all the expenditure incurred and all money, securities, or the equivalent of money received by the election agent in connection with the elections. As per Section 51(b) of the Representation of the People's Act, the maximum amount of election expenses to be incurred in respect of a candidate for a National Assembly election shall be A. Where the candidate does not belong to a party, or where there is no other candidate belonging to the same party at the election in a constituency, the sum is 250,000 rupees. B. Where the candidate is not the only candidate belonging to a party at the election in the constituency, the sum is 150,000 rupees. With regards to Part A, B, and C of the question, I wish to inform the House that the following candidates for the 2024 General Assembly elections against whom complaints have been made are 1. Honourable Pencha of constituency number 7, Honourable Payag of constituency number 7, Honourable Suko of constituency number 7, Honourable Lokiram of constituency number 12, Honourable Lugovin of constituency number 14, Honourable Richard Duval of constituency number 17, and Honourable Colette of constituency number 21. I further wish to inform the House that the following 3 unreturned candidates of l'Alliance Le Peuple also exceeded their election expenses. 1. Kem Olivia of constituency number 18, 2. Kavidas Ramano of constituency number 18, and 3. Fazila Doriawu of constituency number 19. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police, Madam Speaker, that on the 1st of February 2025, at Pitong Police Station, 1. Mrs. Kalpana Kunju Shah, who was an unreturned candidate for constituency number 18 for the 2024 general elections, made a complaint against the 3 returned candidates of constituency number 7, namely Mr. Honourable Sukon, Honourable Pencha, and Honourable Payag. On the 17th of February 2025, at the said police station, other complaints were made against those 3 returned candidates by 1 Mr. Fokira Jagdish Fokira. I'm further informed by the Commissioner of Police that on the 3rd of February 2025, at Port Machurin Police Station, 1 Mr. Alas Ibrahim made a complaint against Honourable Roxana Colette for having exceeded her election expenses during her campaign for constituency number 21. I'm further informed by the Commissioner of Police that on the 17th of February 2025, at Mayberg Police Station, 2 complainants, namely 1 Mr. Luc Via Sirangan and 1 Mr. Jean-Christophe Toussaint, made complaints against Honourable Lokiram for having exceeded his election expenses during his campaign for constituency number 12. On the 18th of February 2025, at Chemagreni Police Station, 1 Mr. Pirbak Sam Nawaz made a complaint against Mrs. Honourable Veronique Lugovin for having exceeded her election expenses during a campaign for constituency number 14. I'm further informed by the Commissioner of Police that statements have been recorded from all the complainants. I'm further informed by the Commissioner of Police that on the 24th of February 2025, at Kyopi Police Station, one Mr. Pindya Alagangi made a complaint against Honorable Richard Duval for having exceeded his election expenses during the campaign for constituency number 17. I'm further informed by the Electoral Commissioner that no complaint has been received at his office. However, on May the 12th, the police informed his office that the Central CID was investigating cases relating to a breach of the Representation of the People's Act by elected members of the National Assembly who had declared through the electoral agents electoral expenditures in excess of 150,000 rupees for the National Assembly elections of 2024. A statement was given to the Central CID on the 19th of May 2025 by an officer of the Electoral Commissioner's Office, wherein all information requested by the police was provided. I understand that these police inquiries are still ongoing and these files will be sent to the DPP eventually. I'm further informed by the Electoral Commissioner that in the case of Honorable Prayak, Honorable Penchan, and Honorable Suko, Honorable Lokiram, Honorable Mrs. Lugovin, and Mrs. Colette, Honorable Colette, they each submitted a further affidavit to his office on different days to amend the initial electoral returns, claiming that the initial returns contain expenses which were not related to the campaigns. Madam Speaker, there is therefore, this is the situation, and there is a consensus among the major political parties that the maximum statutory expenses per candidate at general elections dating back to 2001 are totally unrealistic. This issue will be reviewed as part of the government program to enhance the transparency in the political sphere with a view to ensuring free and fair elections. Government will also introduce legislation for the funding of political parties.
Thank you. Yes. First supplementary.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to confirm to the House whether those cases are being treated individually or the police has grouped those cases together?
Normally it's individually, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister stated that certain members have filed new affidavits. Would he agree that those new affidavits amount to an admission of guilt by those who have filed those new affidavits?
It is not for me to decide this, Madam Speaker. I just explained that they feel that they were expenses that were not related to the electoral expenses were put in there.
If I understand well, the affidavits were not sent to the police, but to the Commissioner of Electoral Commissioner.
Yeah.
Is that what I understood? They sent it to the Electoral Commissioner. So I'm not sure whether it's linked, how it's linked.
But they were filed in outside the prescribed dates,
Yes.
Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister provide to the House information with regard to the dates on which those new affidavits were filed?
I thought I did give the day, but I'll have to look for it. Yeah, they were filed. Yeah, that is the main. When were they filed? I thought I mentioned that the affidavits were filed afterwards. Outside the prescribed date anyway. Yeah. At different dates.
Okay. Next question.
Yes. The Honourable Prime Minister stated that certain complainants have already been interrogated. Can he give indications to the House to who has already been interrogated by the police and whether concerned elected members of this House were concerned with this inquiry, whether they have been interrogated, and can he give a timeline of proceedings from now onwards?
It is in fact the agents that have to be interrogated because they're the one who submit the files. They have been interrogated, except 2 agents, I understand, have not been.
Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether his office has obtained a full report from the Electoral Commission office on this matter, and whether such a request has been made to the Electoral Commission office?
I didn't get any report from the Electoral Commission's office. Neither did I ask, because this is an independent office.
So, will the Honourable Prime Minister give a guarantee to the House that there will be no cover-up in these cases of alleged illegal practice under the Representation of People's Act?
Certainly not, but as I mentioned at the end of my answer, that I think, even on the opposition's part, we all agree, I think, at least I think so, from what I've heard, that we have to relook at these expenses. They're completely unrealistic.
But there was a bill in front of this House some years ago, and now the Alliance in Power, they did not vote for the bill when it was presented to the House. That is, the
You're
bill with
making a
regard to
statement.
financing of political
You're making
parties.
a statement.
Will the Honourable Prime Minister confirm to this House that those found guilty of illegal practice will face the full force of law, including vacation of their seat?
That is for the DPP, who will look at the files and decide. It's not for me to say who is guilty, who is not guilty.
May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether the DPP's office has already been contacted by the police?
No, the police want to complete the inquiry before they sell the files to the DPP. That is what I understand from the Commissioner of Police.
Now, Madam Speaker, this is a very serious matter. Why is it that until now, the Honourable Prime Minister has not directed those elected members of his alliance to step down, pending the full investigation in these alleged cases of illegal election expenses and breaches of the People's Representation Act?
We can't say that there have been breaches. It's not for me to decide whether there have been breaches or not. They are alleged breaches.
Yes, Mr. Duval is asking.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I know from the Honourable Prime Minister, with regards to the offences of illegal practice, which carries ineligibility, vacancy of seat, and ineligibility for 5 years, and where it would be for the court to find that a person guilty where he was aware and had consented to the expenses being done over the prescribed limit. In the given case, given that this has been sworn by the members in their own affidavit, and given that 1 year has passed, where potentially their seats could be found to be ineligible, not only for that 1 year, but also 5 years.
You're still making a statement.
No, the question is whether
Where
it
is
is
your
not a
question?
matter of urgency with regard to the regularity of the decisions taken by members of government who may be found later to be ineligible, whether it is not an urgent matter which requires to be treated urgently by the investigative authorities.
I must say, Madam Speaker, this, whether it is, of course, it has to be looked at. As I said, the police are completing the inquiry. The files will be sent to the DPP. Then because the counter affidavits, as I said, whether these counter affidavits have been done outside the prescribed date, that is for the DPP to look at.
Yes, a second question, but no statements.
No statement. May I know, as a matter of information, whether the Electoral Commissioner has referred, upon becoming aware of potential irregularities,
He's answered that.
no, whether he has referred those irregularities potentially to the police,
To the police.
as he should do.
We don't know. Do you know?
I did answer that part of that question. It is not for the Electoral Commissioner to refer it to the police. They must come and complain to nobody has complained to the Electoral Commissioner.
Okay. Yes, 2 more. Okay.
Madam Speaker, I'm sure the Honourable Prime Minister, especially the Deputy Prime Minister, will see to it that this inquiry is taken seriously. Concerning the incoming electoral reform, can the Honourable Prime Minister provide to the House with a proposed figure as a new threshold for expenses
No,
during
I
an election?
don't think he can do that.
This
It's
is
too early for him to do that. Okay, if
Well,
you
at
want,
least because
Prime
he's
Minister,
saying-
if you want.
Così.
Please, Prime Minister, you want to reply to this question?
No, because this will
Can
be
you-
a question of debate, and we will have to.
Yeah, it's
we
difficult
have
to
all, we have,
answer
all of
that.
us have ideas, but we'll have to see.
No.
again on the same issue with regard to expenses during an election. Will the Honourable Prime Minister reassure the House that in the upcoming electoral reform, the Electoral Commission Office will be empowered to inquire on real expenses of candidates during an election and be empowered by this new piece of legislation to take severe sanctions in case of breaches like the one we have had in the last general elections?
I'm glad the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister is saying what he just said, that for 10 years, nothing was done. We are about to do things.
Yes?
So again, on the role of the Electoral Commissioner, in 2022, he did refer, 2019 election, he did refer, upon being aware of ballot boxes being found at large,
Oh,
the
no,
matter
but
to the police.
That has nothing to do with this
No,
question.
it does. He has the inherent responsibility to make sure that when he sees something being irregular and he becomes aware, to refer it. I'm not saying to prosecute, not prosecuting those, but referral to the police. So whether this role is, does the Prime Minister not think that the Electoral Commissioner ought to have referred this matter to the police?
Just to correct the Honorable Member of the Opposition, it was in the 1991 election that boxes were found, tin boxes, not transparent boxes, found in sugarcane fields and all over the place. That was in 1991.
In any case, it doesn't arise from that question.
You shouldn't arise.
It doesn't. Okay, now we go to other questions. Right. Honourable members, the table has been advised. I hope I have the whole list. Lower table, I hope I...
Autant donc pour cette PNQ de Joe Lejongar, leader de l'opposition, axée l'eau ban présumée violation de ban dispositions régissant ban dépenses électorales lors des élections générales de 2024 en vertu de la Representations of People's Act. Une question nous rappelle ou adressée au Premier ministre Navin Ramgoolam, Joe Lejongar qui fin oulé gagne ban l'information lors ban éventuelle plainte qui fin déposée à ce sujet. Les fins des ban précision lors l'avancement de ban plainte, date et que poste de police côte ça fin enregistré ban circonscription ainsi que ban élu qui concernait et nom de ban dimoun qui fin déjà entendu. Premier ministre fin dit d'abord qui ban candidat bien soumettre la liste de dépenses électorales à la commission électorale, un document qui jurait devant la justice. Lydia, d'après ban plainte qui finit à la police, ban dimoun qui concerné par sa ban plainte là, et na Raj Pentia, Sandip Prayag, Kaviraj Soukon de la circonscription numéro 7, Richard Duval du numéro 17, Kevin Keram de la circonscription numéro 12, Maïbou Plaine Magnan, Véronique Legovine, numéro 14, Savane Rivière-Noire et candidat à Rodrigue, candidat Colette. Il y a aussi qui finit dans les autres candidats donc de l'alliance les PEP donc qui finit faire dépenses dépassant le plafond autorisé donc
c'est les candidats
Kem
Olivia, Ramano et Fazila Doriaou qui dépassent le seuil aussi au niveau de l'alliance les PEP. Donc les Findi aussi qui finalement une complainte qu'il fait par rapport à un candidat de l'alliance du changement. Donc c'est Kalpana Kunjusha entre autres qui fait une complainte et Findi qui fait un statement qui fait donné à la CCID par un officier du bureau du commissaire électoral.
Et oui, donc le Premier ministre Navin Ramgoolam Patrick qui dit que l'enquête policière toujours en cours et pour envoyer ça au DPP éventuellement pour décider de la marche à suivre. Il dit que certains candidats fin filé nouveau affidavit qui se fin soumettre à la commission électorale. L'information aussi qui ressortit de cette PNQ pour revoir le seuil pour dépenses qui est dit irréaliste, c'est que pour aller de l'avant avec un texte de loi le financement de ban parti politique. Finalement, une question supplémentaire de Joe Lejonga, Patrick notamment, est-ce qu'il pour ENA cover-up, est-ce qu'il ban du monde qui est concerné bisa démissionner, entre autres, une question supplémentaire de Joe Lejonga.
Donc le Premier ministre fin répond que l'enquête est toujours en cours, donc la question de démissionner ne se pose pas pour le moment. Il fin redire, comment on fait dire, qu'il bizarre revoir la loi parce que le barème actuel est complètement irréaliste et donc tout le monde connaît qui ça manque de dépenses, ça manque seuil de dépenses n'est plus correspond à la réalité et qui ça seuil actuel fin fixé en 2001 donc tous les coûts, tous les frais ont augmenté par rapport à un candidat de l'Alliance du changement qui concernait élu de cette alliance qui concernait il fin préciser qui voilà ça fait un nouveau affidavit pour dire que certaines de ces dépenses pas fait dans le cadre de la campagne électorale. Donc, une fois que la police complète son enquête, il peut envoyer le dossier au DPP qui lit pour décider qui action bien prend. Et puis aussi, il faut faire ressortir qui Joe Lejonga demandé mais voilà, mais contre-affidavit là, il finit juré en dehors du délai de 6 semaines. Donc là, il dit que c'est au DPP de décider quel chemin emprunter.
Alors, sinon, tout à l'heure, lors de la PMQT qui peut démarrer à l'instant même, un prêt accordé par une institution publique à Diana Vaotam Limité, société immobilière et hôtelière liée à la famille Ramdani. Le dossier est Mauritius ou encore l'agression d'un petit fille de 6 ans Kotli dans ce case à résidence Barclay pour retenir l'attention à une vingtaine de questions. Nous rappelons qui est adressé au chef du gouvernement Navin Ramgoolam et 2 projets de loi à l'agenda ce mardi. Le Law Reform Commission Bill qui pour présenter en première lecture par l'Attorney General et sa texte de loi-là, nous rappelons, prévoit une réforme majeure de l'institution dans le but pour renforcer révision et amélioration au cadre législatif mauricien et que surtout modernise nos systèmes juridiques. Ensuite, il y a un débat Law Road Traffic Amendment Bill qui vise à renforcer la sécurité routière. Ce projet de loi-là qui prévoit réintroduction permis à point avec une série de 33 infractions avec une amende doublée qui est capable jusqu'à 500 000 roupies et suspension automatique permis dès qu'il 15 points accumulés. Ce projet de loi-là, pour selon toute probabilité, adopté aujourd'hui pour qu'il une mesure prend effet à partir de janvier 2026. Autant donc pour cette séance de la PNQ. Donc, on est capable de suivre la séance de la PMQT en ce moment même, sur nos pages Facebook défimedia.info. Patrick Hilbert, merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous, Priscilla.
Merci également à l'équipe technique, Abhishek Sitewal en régie et Antish Bawan pour les images.
For the supply or handling of cargo goods, for the supply or handling of cargo goods, bunker, water equipment, other equipment, labor and other services within the limits of a port. The outer port or the port premises is governed by the Ports Regulations of 1981 concerning the issue of licenses. It further provides that a separate license shall be required for each business or activity that is asked for. This license may be issued or renewed for a period not exceeding 1 year, subject to such conditions as may be imposed by the Mauritius Ports Authority against payment of an annual fee as prescribed in the Port Fees Regulations of 2008. I'm informed, Madam Speaker, by the Mauritius Ports Authority that port licenses are issued to shipping agents which are designated by owners or charterers of vessels to represent their interests or act on their behalf when calling at the port. Presently, there are 34 companies licensed to operate as shipping agents in the port area, and every licensee pays an annual fee of 15,000 rupees as prescribed in the second schedule of the Port Fees Regulations of 2008. Following a port tariff study undertaken by Mauritius Ports Authority in the year 1999, a prescribed fee of $15,000 was then fixed to be payable by shipping agents. The House will note that since the last 25 years, these fees have not been reviewed. I'm further informed, Madam Speaker, that a contract was awarded on the 1st of October 2024. That is just a few weeks before the general election, for the conduct of a port tariff study by Strategic Net Consulting Limited for a sum of 7,202,267 rupees exclusive of VAT. The scope of the study is to set a revised tariff structure that will reflect the real value of port services provided and benchmark with those practiced regionally and internationally. The consulting company was expected to submit the final report in April 2025. However, the draft final report was submitted 7 months later, on the 28th of November 2025. I'm informed that the bidding document prepared by the Procurement Policy Office did not provide for penalty clauses in the general conditions of the contract for consultancy services. However, Clause 14 of the General Conditions of Contract provides for the termination of the contract in the event the consultant commits a material breach or fails to remedy a failure in the performance of its obligations under the contract within 7 working days after being notified, or within any further period as the client may have subsequently approved in writing. The Mauritius Ports Authority has not applied this clause with regards to the late submission of the report. An inquiry into the matter is accordingly being initiated. Approval of the Board of the Mauritius Ports Authority on the recommendations of the port tariff study is expected before the end of January 2026, and necessary amendments will accordingly be made to the port fees regulations to give effect to the revised port charges and fees.
Thank you. Mr. Babaji, yes?
Will the Honorable Prime Minister submit a list of licenses issued from 2014 to 2024, and if all those licenses has been in norms with the regulations, if we will be able to table it?
I can submit the list of these.
Yes, all right. Okay. Then it is Mr. Jaman, second member for Rivière-des-Anguilles.
Thank you, Madam. Question B1178, please.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I shall reply to parliamentary questions B1178 and B1181 together as they relate to the same subject matter. I'm informed by the Financial Crimes Commission that a preliminary investigation was initiated on the 10th of February of this year into loans granted by the State Bank Mauritius, that is, to Dianvartam Limited, which is the operator of the Maradiva Hotels and Resort Spa. At the very outset, I'm informed that the State Bank of Mauritius granted a loan of 1.4 billion rupees to Dianvartam Limited, and a further loan of 1.65 billion rupees was again given to them by the Mauritius Investment Corporation Limited. Hence, as at 30th of September 2025, the loans extended to the two entities to Dianvartam Limited amount to approximately 3.1 billion rupees. The collateral held against the loans is both in terms of fixed charges and floating charges. I'm further informed that the Financial Crimes Commission is currently investigating the matter. So far, 48 statements have been taken from 27 witnesses, and 13 interrogations have been conducted with 7 suspects. On the 18th of June 2025, the Financial Crimes Commission proceeded with the arrest of Mr. Premchand Mangar, former Chief Executive Officer of the State Bank Limited, and provisionally charged him for an offence of fraud by abuse of position in breach of Section 43 of the Financial Crimes Commission Act. On the 3rd of December 2025, Mr. Mangar was arrested again and provisionally charged for an offence of conspiracy in breach of Section 48 of the Financial Crimes Commissions Act, respectively. On the same day, the Financial Crimes Commission also proceeded with the arrest of Mr. Sanjeev Kailash Ramdani for an offence of conspiracy in breach of Section 48 of the Financial Crimes Commission Act. I'm further informed, Madam Speaker, that no recovery action has been initiated since the loan facilities are inscribed against the asset of the company. The State Bank had the first-rank charge over the asset. And the House is aware there is an ongoing inquiry into the matter. Therefore, I cannot give other information.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Jaman.
Thank you, Madam. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether the former chairman of the SBM Holding, Mr. Satar Haji Abdullah, has been interrogated as he has been dealing with such toxic loans?
I'm not aware of who is being interrogated, but the inquiry is ongoing.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Bijan. Because both questions were taken
Thank
together.
you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House what was the purpose for which the loans were contracted?
I'm not sure. It so happened that there were huge loans. What are the purpose? I cannot say at this point.
Another one, yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House what was the guarantee that were submitted so that the loan be disbursed?
I didn't go into the nitty-gritty because there is an inquiry going on, and I don't want to prejudice the inquiry.
Thank you. We'll find out in due course. Yes. All right. Now we have Honourable Second Member for Vieux-Grand-Port, Rosbel. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's question B/1179, please.
Madam Speaker, when this government took office in November last, the forex market was in total chaos. The exchange rate of the Mauritian rupee was on a steeply declining slope, depreciating at a very rapid pace vis-à-vis all currencies, in particular against the US dollar, thus fueling inflationary pressures in the economy and rapidly eroding the purchasing power of the population. This, Madam Speaker, is the situation we inherited. In fact, from December 2014 to October 2024, the rupee depreciated, some say intentionally, by 46% against the US dollars and by 21% against the British pound. To make matters worse, the previous government even indulged in money printing of over 180 billion rupees purposely to give a false sense of prosperity to Mauritians. This has exacerbated the already excess liquidity situation in the banking system, which further, as we all know, fuels inflationary pressures. It is no wonder, Madam Speaker, that consumer prices in Mauritius increased by a dramatic 43.3% from December 2014 to October 2024, and import prices went up by 63%. I think these figures speak for themselves. The dramatic fall in the value of the Mauritian rupee has had a profound and far-reaching adverse effects on our economy, affecting households, businesses, and overall confidence in the system. One of our first priorities when we came into power was to correct that disastrous mismanagement of the previous government. The Bank of Mauritius has acted urgently to stabilize the value of the rupee and to curb inflationary pressures through its monetary policy. The Bank of Mauritius adjusted its policy rate in February of 2025. It also issued instructions to banks to ensure that forward transactions are priced in a fair manner and in accordance with market fundamentals. In addition, the Bank of Mauritius has sold $244 million on the market from November 2024 to the 4th of December 2025. At the level of government, we have supported the efforts to increase the supply of forex on the market by imposing that at least 85% of the proceeds from sales of villas under the Property Development Scheme should be paid in rupees. Furthermore, as from this fiscal year, all businesses that receive at least 50% of their annual turnover in foreign currency are paying their tax in foreign currency. The tourist fee of €3 per night per tourist effective as from the 1st of October this year is also generating additional foreign exchange for the country. Madam Speaker, these measures have contributed to an improvement in the forex market conditions. I'm informed by the Bank of Mauritius that as from the 3rd of January 2025 to the 4th of December 2025, the rupee has appreciated by 3.4% against the US dollars, whereas during the same period, it actually depreciated by 5.5%. During the same period, the Bank of Mauritius has also successfully reduced the depreciating trend against the British pound from 6% to 3.6%. The measures taken to stabilize the exchange rate have contributed to a fall in headline inflation in Mauritius. Import prices have actually gone down by 4.4% between the third quarter of 2024 and the second quarter of 2025. The headline inflation rate is estimated at 3.5% in November 2025, well within the target range of 2 to 5%. Madam Speaker, it is clear today that the shift away from the previous regime's opacity, ad hoc policy making, and excessive money printing have restored a sense of predictability and discipline to our economic management. The rupee is now more stable. We have been able to reduce inflation, and I said it stands at 3.5% this month. May I remind the House also that a number of amendments to the Statistics Act were introduced in the Finance Act of 2025 so as to restore credibility and independence to Statistics Mauritius. Our actions have brought the country back on the path of economic stability, and investor confidence has been restored, but we have still a long way to go.
Thank you. Yes. Now, Mr. Babaji.
B1180, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commission of Prisons that as at 4th of December 2025, there was a total of 2,848 detainees in prisons. In regards to Part A of the question, I'm also informed that there are presently 214 female detainees in our prisons. Regarding Part B1 of the question, I'm informed by the Commission of Prisons that there are 359 detainees who are HIV positive. Upon admission, all detainees undergo medical examination, which includes HIV testing. While some detainees are already aware of their HIV positive status before their admission, others are diagnosed with the routine blood test conducted on site. Regarding these 359 HIV-infected detainees, all of them were already living with HIV prior to their coming into prison. Madam Speaker, with respect to Part B2 of the question, I presume that the Honourable Member's question pertains to antiretroviral therapy, ART, which targets HIV viruses. I'm informed by the Commission of Prisons that detainees who are diagnosed with HIV are immediately placed under antiretroviral therapy. The treatment is provided in accordance with the guidelines of the World Health Organization and national health protocols. The treatment is continuous and uninterrupted throughout detention, including during court appearances, hospital admissions, or transfers between prisons. I'm also informed that awareness and sensitization campaigns on HIV are organized by the Mauritius Prison Service in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the NGO Kinuete across all penal institutions throughout the year. For instance, in the context of the World AIDS Day, which was observed on the 1st of December this year, a candlelight vigil was held at the Eastern High Security Prison, Melrose, in memory of those who passed away with HIV in Mauritius.
Thank you. Mr. Babaji is all right. Mr. Edouard, yes. Honourable Fourth Member for Rodrigues.
Madam Speaker, B1182.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Mauritius Revenue Authority that over the past 3 financial years, the quantum of tax revenue collected by the authority in Rodrigues were as follows: 148 million in financial year 2022-2023, 137.4 million in financial year 2023-2024 and 156.6 million in financial year 2024-2025. I'm further informed that the income tax collected in Rodrigues amounted to 81.5 million in financial year 2022-2023, 68.7 million in financial year 2023-2024, and 78.6 million in financial year 2024-2025. Regarding VAT, the following amounts were collected: 64.8 million in financial year 2022-2023, 67.3 million in financial year 2023-2024, and 76.4 million in financial year 2024-2025. Madam Speaker, although the tax collection in Rodrigues is 150 million rupees on average annually, government provides more financial resources for the economic and social development of Rodrigues. In fact, the current financial year, the total resource allocated to Rodrigues amount to 10.1 billion rupees, of which 5.78 billion of recurrent and capital grants to the Rodrigues Regional Assembly, 1 billion rupees for the construction of the new runway at Plankouai, 340 million rupees for the development of the water sector, 223 million for the subsidy on ration, rice, flour, LPG, petroleum products, and cement, and 60 million for land drainage projects.
Yes, thank you. Honourable Fourth Member for Port Louis North.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Chief Executive Officer of the National Agency for Drug Control that the Drug Control Board, at its fourth meeting held on the 16th of October of this year, decided to set up a technical committee comprising experts in public health, the criminal justice system, fiscal policy, neuroscience, addiction medicine, harm reduction, and representatives from the Ministry of Health and Wellness to conduct a comprehensive review of the three proposed technical models on the regulation of cannabis, namely depenalization, decriminalization, and regulated legislation. As part of its preparatory work, the agency has initiated discussions with the UNODC and WHO for Mauritius to benefit from specialized expertise and ensure that the review is fully aligned with global best practices and public health standards. In parallel, consultations are being held with the Attorney General's Office to address the legal complexities associated with the three proposed models and to determine the precise legislative drafting requirements for any future implementation within the Mauritian legal framework. Madam Speaker, the technical committee is planning to meet in January of 2026 and will produce a legal brief outlining the domestic requirements and the international treaty compliance options for the regulation of cannabis. In parallel, from January to March 2026, an assessment of the public health impacts will be carried out to identify the most equitable and effective model. It is expected that the draft blueprint and proposed administrative framework will be submitted by July 2026.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, why is it that the technical committee has been set up, but that the select committee of Parliament, which was promised by Alliance du Changement, comprising of members of both sides of the House, to assist, to give views, and to, of course, deliberate on the issues of the drug problem and to make recommendation to that entity? Why is it that this part has not been done and you have proceeded with the technical committee?
I believe that they wanted to have experts' opinion first before addressing that issue with the Parliament.
So, may I ask then, Madam Speaker, when will that select committee then see the light of day so that members of Parliament can also participate in this national problem?
Yes.
But that doesn't depend on me. It depends on when.
But you're not saying no.
I'm not saying no.
Yeah, you're not saying no. That is Mr. Jaman, second member.
Thank you, Madam.
I've already called the member.
But please.
Please, you cannot I've already called the member. You had 2 supplementaries. Yes.
Thank you, Madam. Question B1184, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Bank of Mauritius that the fees, charges and commissions levied by banks are determined by these institutions themselves in the light of the business strategies, operational model, internal policies and risk assessments. Nonetheless, as the regulator for the banking sector, the Bank of Mauritius closely monitors the fees, charges and commissions charged by the its licensees to ensure that they are not inordinate. Whilst the banking market is driven by competition, the Bank of Mauritius also focuses on protecting customers of banking services against abusers. In that regard, the Bank of Mauritius requires commercial banks to submit the schedule of fees, charges and commissions on a half-yearly basis to the central bank. With a view to enhancing transparency and enabling consumers of banking services to make informed choices, the Bank of Mauritius has made it mandatory for all banks to upload all information pertaining to fees and charges on their website and to affix these conspicuously in all branches. The templates of all commercial banks are also published on the website of the Bank of Mauritius to enable customers to have a comparative view of all fees, charges and commissions charged by the banks. Furthermore, banks are obligated to notify the Bank of Mauritius of any change affected in the fees, affected in the charges and commissions, in which case these changes and the impact are assessed to safeguard the interests of the customers and the public. This last submission by commercial banks of their fees and charges template was made in July 2025. By virtue of Section 6 of the Bank of Mauritius Act 2004, the Bank of Mauritius has the power to regulate the fees and charges in respect to the services provided by these financial institutions and impose such limitation on the quantum of these fees and charges as it may deem appropriate. I'm also informed by the Bank of Mauritius that issues pertaining to fees, charges, commissions, as well as improvements to be brought to customer service delivery are discussed with the chief executive officers of all the commercial banks during its quarterly banking committee meeting chaired by the governor of the bank. The last such meeting was held on the 19th of November of this year. With regard to Part B of the question, I'm further informed by the Bank of Mauritius that although there are no generally agreed international norms or standards relating to fees and charges levied by banks, the Bank of Mauritius will carry out a comprehensive study on these fees and charges and take appropriate actions if deemed necessary.
Okay, time is up. Now, B1192, we've been advised, B1187, 1186, and 1193 have been withdrawn. Now we go to questions to other ministers. Okay. Honourable Fourth Member for Rodrigues, Mr. Edouard. Is that right? You're not with me. Your question to Honourable Ministers. We are doing questions to Honourable Ministers. Am I wrong?
Excuse me, Madam Speaker.
Yes? I'm right.
Okay. B1196, please.
Yes. It happens to me as well, Mr. Edouard, don't worry. B1196, yes?
Madam Speaker, following the Assises de l'Éducation et des Ressources Humaines held in Mauritius and Rodrigues in April and May 2025 respectively, my ministry is in the process of developing a strategic plan blueprint for the transformation of the education sector for the Republic of Mauritius. The views and proposals shared by stakeholders during the Assises de l'Éducation, as well as the specificities of Mauritius, Rodrigues, and Agalega, have been duly taken into account in the drafting of the document. Madam Speaker, in Rodrigues, the 8 existing secondary schools admit students to grade 7 based on, first, grade aggregate obtained by the candidate in the PESAC assessment, 2, parental choice, 3, distance between the residence of the candidate and the school allocated, and 4, availability of seats. With regard to part A of the question, I wish to inform the honourable member that my ministry will, together with the Commissioner for Education of Rodrigues, examine the possibility of including one or more schools as national secondary schools for Rodrigues. With regard to part B of the question, I wish to inform the honourable member that during the Assise de l'Éducation et des Ressources Humaines held in Rodrigues in May 2025, the proposal to abolish co-education was not raised by stakeholders. In fact, learners in Rodrigues are accustomed to co-education right from pre-primary to secondary level. My ministry will consult the Commission for Education for Rodrigues and other Rodriguan stakeholders during the ongoing discussions in the context of the upcoming transformation in the education sector. Madam Speaker, with regard to part C of the question, I wish to inform the honourable member that my ministry is examining the modalities of allowing students from the regular streams who have repeatedly not succeeded in the lower secondary classes to join the foundation program in literacy, numeracy and skills, subject to the consent of their responsible parties. As regards to those students who are experiencing difficulties at mid-lower secondary level, they are encouraged to explore other sectors of education which would be better adapted to their competencies. In fact, the Mauritius Institute of Training and Development, MITD, offers several courses to students who have completed 3 years post-primary schooling, including those who are below 16 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for his reply. Will the Minister consider the improvement of the courses run at MITD so as to cater to what he has just said regarding the repeated failures?
Thank you, Honourable Member. During les Assises de l'Éducation et des Ressources Humaines held in Rodrigues, proposals were made, and MITD has taken good note of it, and soon this will be implemented.
Yes. Are you okay? Yes. Next question is the Honourable Second Member for Rodrigues, Mr. François.
Thank you. B/1197.
Madam Speaker, it may be recalled that in 2015, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, a framework built around 17 Sustainable Development Goals designed to drive economic, social, and environmental progress. Mauritius is fully committed to its global agenda and continues to implement it through a coordinated national approach. To ensure coherence across government, the Sustainable Development Unit was established within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in January 2021. The unit oversees interministerial coordination through designated SDG focal points, supports national reporting processes, and guides the monitoring of timelines and commitments. In parallel, Madam Speaker, Statistics Mauritius has developed a comprehensive national SDG database which serves as a single publicly accessible platform for indicators and strengthens the foundations of evidence-based policymaking. Mauritius presented its first voluntary national review in 2019 and its second in July 2024 before the high-level political forum in New York. The 2024 review, inter alia, identified challenges, notably the need to expand access to grants and concessional financing for climate action, and called for stronger international partnerships. According to the 2025 Sustainable Development Report, Mauritius achieved an SDG index score of 70.3, well above the regional average, and ranked 76 out of 167 countries. Significant progress has been made in poverty eradication, innovation, infrastructure development, financial inclusion, and digital connectivity. A positive spillover score of 75.13 further demonstrates that Mauritius contributes more positive than negative impacts to global sustainable development. To accelerate implementation, Mauritius and the United Nations signed the Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2024-2028. The Joint Steering Committee of the SDCF, co-chaired by myself and the UN Resident Coordinator, ensures oversight and alignment with national priorities. Its three thematic results groups, people, prosperity, and planet, are fully aligned with the Government Programme 2025-2029. The meeting of the SDCF Joint Steering Committee held in October 2025 was an opportunity to take stock of progress made as well as providing guidance to the results group. Financing remains at the heart of the SDG implementation. While domestic resources form the backbone of development efforts, we continue to mobilize international partnerships. Global initiatives, including the Sevilla Commitment and the Doha Political Declaration, reinforce international commitments to support the climate action, sustainable finance, and poverty reduction. Mauritius is also working with the UN Economic Commission for Africa to adopt the Integrated Planning and Reporting Toolkit, which align national strategies with the SDGs and Agenda 2063, strengthen coordination, and facilitate automated reporting. As regards the second part of the question, my ministry also recognizes the Inter-Parliamentary Union's call for parliaments to institutionalize oversight of the 2030 Agenda. Establishing an SDG committee within the National Assembly would reflect global best practice and reinforce accountability. Accordingly, we propose initiating consultations to explore its establishment according to the standing orders and, of course, subject to the consent of the Speaker.
Yes, I was thinking this would be more for me than for the Minister.
Of course.
But it's very good. Maybe you should remember that we're already dealing with SDG 5 in the Gender Caucus.
Yes. Okay.
Of course, but it is a tall order, Mr. Francois. We hear you, we hear you. Okay, now, next question is Honorable Bijan, yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1198.
Madam Speaker, I wish to point out that constituency number 6, Grand Bay Poutreau, falls under the jurisdiction of two district councils. That is the District Council of Pamplemousses and the District Council of Rivière-du-Remport. I am informed that there is a total of 11 children playgrounds in constituency number 6, out of which 10 falls under the aegis of the District Council of Rivière-du-Remport and 1 under the District Council of Pamplemousses. As requested by the Honourable Member, I am tabling a list of the children playgrounds under the responsibility of each of the two district councils and the relevant details thereof with respect to part A, B, and C of the question. Madam Speaker, as regard to part D of the question, I am informed that at its meeting of 14 October 2022, the Council of Rivière-du-Remport had identified a site for the construction of a mini saucer pitch in the region of Saint-François on a plot of state land of an extent of 3,600 meters square, situated at the entrance of the road leading to Ancelare Youth Center. However, I am now informed that the district councillors have now decided to set up a children playground there. Same will be taken up in the next council meeting scheduled on 19 December 2025. Subsequently, a request for vesting of the state plot of land will be made to my ministry. Thank you.
Yes. All right, one question.
Thank you,
yes.
Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House, is there a long-term strategy for play infrastructure in my constituency number 6 to ensure fair distribution accessibility for children with disabilities and renewal of equipment? Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, yes, we are considering all the children play equipment with accessibility to the children with disabilities.
Yes. Next question, Mr. Apollon.
B1199.
Madam Speaker, with regard to the proposed construction of the market fair near Youth Center in Mabel, I wish to inform the House that the original project has not been pursued following the termination of the contractor's contract in January 2023 and the subsequent arbitration process. After the reassessment in March 2025, it was decided not to proceed with a market fair on that site. Instead, government intends to develop a multi-purpose complex there, but this project has been deferred to the next financial year. As for the market fair itself, it has already been relocated to the Maber market, which has been extended to accommodate 206 stalls. Construction works for this extension have been completed, and the market fair has been operational since May 2025. Accordingly, there is no completion date for the market fair at the youth center site, as the project is no longer being implemented. Thank you.
Yes.
The drugs problem in Maibo is affecting the youth of the locality, and the construction of this gymnasium will provide more facilities for our youth to practice sport facilities. Will the Minister give this project a priority and get the necessary clearance from finance for the next years?
Sure, Madam Speaker. We will still find a solution for the next financial year. As I said, it has been deferred this year, but deferred for the next financial year.
Yes, Honourable Fourth Member for Port Louis North.
Yes, 1200.
Madam Speaker, the Mauritius Examinations Syndicate has released the results of the National Certificate of Education Examinations 2025 on 2nd December 2025. A total of 15,047 school candidates comprising both mainstream and extended program students were examined for the NC examinations, which was conducted from 22nd September to 16th October 2025. Out of the 15,047 candidates, 1,460 are from the grade 9 plus extended program. Madam Speaker, with regard to the grade 9 plus, that is the extended program, I'm informed that only 78 out of 1,460 students who were examined met the requirements and were awarded the NC. I have noted with much sadness that out of these 1,460 students, 1,382 did not succeed, representing a staggering failure rate of 94.7%. These students are left without any result or certificate to bank upon to pursue their education afterwards. Therefore, asking these students of the extended program on the mission to attempt the NC was not fair to them. Madam Speaker, this year's failure rate for the extended program, unfortunately, does not come as a surprise. If we look at the previous years, the failure rate has ranged between 92 to 97%, demonstrating a persistent and alarming trend. It is clear, therefore, that the extended program has failed lamentably to deliver. The previous government was well aware of this situation, but was driven by political pride and unwillingness to acknowledge the extended program's deficiencies. They did not take the required remedial measures, much to the detriment of our students. Madam Speaker, let me refer to the midterm evaluation of the extended program 2018-2019 by the World Bank and Ministry of Education and Human Resources. Let me quote from the report. At the end of primary, the majority of EP, extended program students, failed to reach the minimum requirements in English, French, and mathematics, with most students not obtaining the minimum score of 30 required in the PESAC assessment. More than half of these extended program students come from low socioeconomic background, from families with limited educational achievement and unstable families. The report also refers to the curriculum which was not adapted to the needs of these children. The report highlights the need to focus on life skills and basic literacy and numeracy during the foundation years and beyond. Madam Speaker, this is what we did when we came with the foundation program, which answers to the multiple needs of these children. While the self-esteem of these children is respected, They are all being supported so that they acquire basic literacy and numeracy skills, life skills, and values which will help them in life. In some cases, Madam Speaker, underlying learning difficulties such as dyslexia or attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder may go undiagnosed and unsupported, further affecting performance. Madam Speaker, our government, since its assumption of office, has taken the decision that this year's cohort of extended program, having sat for the NCE examination, is the last one. The students who have failed will not be abandoned. Government has already put in place necessary support measures to ensure that they have a viable pathway for their future. Madam Speaker, indeed, as from January 2025, the extended program was replaced by the Foundation Program for Literacy, Numeracy, and Skills for grades 7, 8, and 9 students. The FPLNS is competency-based and provides a more adapted approach for students who are otherwise disadvantaged by the traditional academic approach. At the end of 3-year Foundation Program for Literacy, Numeracy, and Skills, successful students will be awarded a certificate, the National Foundation Certificate of Education, which is pitched at level 2 of the National Qualifications Framework. The certificate will enable them to enroll on a specialized NC3 courses at MITD training centers. However, the students who do not achieve the minimum requirements of the NFCE can enroll on a specialized NC2 courses at the MITD training centers. Madam Speaker, let me repeat it again. The extended program has been a failure because the previous government did not recognize the different types of learners that we have in the education system, and that is why it was important to provide them with different educational pathways that meet their needs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the extended program was called at a time in 2023
no statements.
There's not a statement. I will refer to the memory of the Honourable Minister, a crime against children, and he agrees. I want to clarify the important part of his answer that says that those who have failed, so the 95% who have failed, will be given vocational training. I want to clarify whether they will have a guaranteed seat at the MITD or any other vocational training center, as well as those children in grade 8, the other thousands of children who are also going to go and face today the same difficulties.
Is that what you said?
Yes, the rest assured, Honourable Member, that students will get a seat in those training centres.
May I ask yes? Second question.
Now, Madam Speaker, the MITD in the past had bottleneck issues with lack of capacity before being able to take on board the thousands of students which the Minister now plans. May we know from the Minister the plans that have been implemented to ensure that those thousands of children, and if he can give us the numbers, are they 10,000 children now under the EP? 12,000 children? How many children now undergoing the EP? And will they all be guaranteed a place?
Honourable Member, apart from MITD, it is good that you take note that there will be the ITET also, who will cater for the needs of these students, depending upon the wish of the students, what they want to do when they reach at that level. It will depend upon them, what they want to do, whether it is at MITD or ITET.
And the number?
The number I may not give you at this time.
May I clarify? The number of children currently, grade 8 and the 1,500, the total that are in the extended program that will be doing their NCE exams under the old system.
From memory, I can tell you it is around 2,000 per year, around. Okay, they seek admission in those centers, but grade 8, they have the possibility to continue with the foundation program next year. That is, in grade 9, they are continuing with the foundation program, whereby they are being prepared. They are being prepared in skills development, so that after 1 year, that is after grade 9, then they will apply for either MITD or ITET.
Yes, Mr. Bichuk. When you say skills, do you also include life skills?
Yes, one of the components of foundation program Madam Speaker, is life-saving.
Okay.
Oui, Madame la Présidente, I wish to congratulate the Minister for having replaced cette boucherie, cet abattoir qui était l'extended program. In line to the answer by the Minister, I wish to know what is being done, what is envisaged to tackle what is considered as the backward socio-economic factors that is affecting the education of the kids, and secondly, is there any mechanism that is being put in place so that we can detect the learning disabilities earlier instead of waiting for the NCE exams?
I referred earlier the midterm report on extended program, and that is what the previous government didn't do, Honourable Member. And one of the requirements was to involve parents in the education of their children. Second, they said it is important to have a curriculum which is adapted to their needs. Third, they said it is important to have proper teacher training in order to provide proper education to the students. Fourth, they asked to review the class size. So all these things are being taken care of with these kids now.
Okay, Mr. Bichuk? Okay. Very good question, huh? Very good question. Yes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, now I have Mr. Apollo. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1201.
Still the same minister.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that there are 17 public schools, 11 primary schools and 6 secondary schools which have been closed down as from 2002 onwards. I am tabling a list thereof. Out of the 17 schools, the following 4 schools which have been closed after the academic year 2025 will not be enrolling students for the 2026 intake. 1, Richard-Neu Government School, where we have only 19 students, including 8 special education needs students. 2, Marcel Cabon SSS, where there are only 97 students. Sebastopol SSS, where there are only 105 students. And Port-West North SSS, where we have 165 students. The students concerned have been relocated to neighboring schools. Madam Speaker, I am further informed that most of the closed schools have been converted into Mauritius Institute of Training and Development Training Centers and SEN schools, as indicated in the table being tabled. Additionally, the Economic Development Board, EDB, has requested my ministry to submit the list of government schools which have been closed and which are currently unused. The EDB intends to assess the suitability of these unused buildings for conversion into revenue-generating projects. The request is under consideration at the level of my ministry.
You're tabling that. Very good. Yes, next question, Honorable Prayag. Dr. Prayag.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1202, please.
Madam Speaker, the Road Development Authority is responsible for the construction, care, maintenance and improvement of motorways and main roads. The stretch of motorway M2 linking the Terre Rouge flyover to the Calbas interchange is a dual carriageway segment that passes through the region of Bois Marchand. Along this section of the motorway, the northbound carriageway runs alongside the Bois Marchand Cemetery, while the southbound carriageway borders both the cemetery and the Bois Marchand village. A pedestrian footbridge has been provided for safe crossing. The central verge separating the 2 carriageways is approximately 3 meters wide and consists of a turf area with low decorative shrubs. Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Ministry of Land Transport that a road crash analysis was carried out along the stretch of motorway M2 at Bois Marchand using the Internet Microcomputer Accident Analysis Package software. Over the past 5 years, a total of 12 accidents have been recorded along this section. Among those, 1 resulted in a fatality, 3 resulted in serious injuries, and 12 resulted in slight injuries. Most of the accidents involved pedestrians and two-wheelers. According to police reports, The accidents occurred mainly during dark hours and were attributed to unsafe road crossing behavior, the absence of street lighting, and the lack of safety fencing along the central reservation. I'm further informed by the RDA that from an engineering standpoint, this section of the motorway is equipped with adequate safeguards. However, it has been observed that some persons are engaged in unsafe practices by crossing the motorway illegally, despite the availability of pedestrian footbridge. This behavior poses significant risk to pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and motorists alike. In order to address the above issues, I've directed the RDA to carry out a joint site visit with the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit, the police, and the relevant local authorities to assess the situation on site and identify the most appropriate mitigation measures and long-term solutions. In the meantime, I'm requesting the police to reinforce surveillance and enforcement under the Road Traffic Act in the area to deter unsafe crossing practices. Madam Speaker, as regards street lighting along this stretch, the RDA has informed that responsibility for street lighting on existing roads falls under the local authorities. I'm further informed that as per established procedure, street lighting installed by the RDA along motorways is subsequently handed over to the relevant local authority for maintenance, which is normally carried out by the CB under an existing memorandum of understanding. I will take up the matter with my colleague, the Honourable Minister of Local Government, so that the need for further lighting along the stretch may be considered. Madam Speaker, the RDA also intends to progressively replace the existing street lighting by solar street lighting along motorway M1 from Sagar Ramgoolam International Airport to La Vichy. The project will be implemented in phases, with the first phase covering the section from the airport to the Grosbois roundabout. Financial clearance for phase 1 has already been sought for the replacement of the existing grid-connected street lighting by solar street lighting.
Yes, Dr. Prague.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to thank the Honourable Minister for his reply. Can the Honourable Minister just take into consideration the fact that many people tend to cross the road there and they don't go through accidents, and this is quite a serious happening. Maybe it will help during the conversation with the Ministry of the local authorities. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member will be invited in the site meeting where there will be the police, the RDA and the TMRSU, and will rely on his contribution to see mitigation measures.
Thank you. Now, the next question, 1203 has been withdrawn. Now, I will ask first member for Port Louis North, Ms. Sabadat.
Question B, 1204. Thank you.
Madame la Présidente, la WMA m'informe que Batterie Cassée, faisant partie de Rochebois, constitue une zone résidentielle d'environ 800 maisons, dont la plupart sont raccordées au réseau d'égouts, construit en 1983. En ce qui concerne la rue John Browndy, j'ai également appris qu'il y a environ 23 maisons, dont 16 sont raccordées au réseau d'égouts et 7 ne le sont pas. Pour raccorder les 7 maisons restantes au réseau d'égouts, il est nécessaire de prolonger de 105 mètres le réseau d'égouts de rue. Madame la Présidente, la WMA réalise actuellement une étude détaillée afin de déterminer les exigences techniques exactes pour le raccordement des ménages concernés, et les travaux seront mis en œuvre dans le cadre du prochain projet pour l'extension des réseaux d'égouts, dont le début est prévu aux alentours de février 2026.
Oui, allez-y.
Merci. Madame l'honorable ministre, peut-il confirmer si des mesures seront prises également à Batterie Cassée pour les autres rues comme Baxipia 1 et 2?
Je n'ai pas ces renseignements-là. Vous m'avez posé la question sur
Ce sont les rues avoisinantes.
la rue John Browndy. Donc j'ai des renseignements, malheureusement, Madame la Présidente, j'ai les renseignements pour que Browndy, et revenir avec les autres Browndy et je vais voir ce que je peux faire.
Non, sûrement, vous pouvez faire ça en attendant.
Oui, je vais
On
chercher.
demande, j'ai pas besoin. Elle ne pourra pas attendre l'année prochaine, là. Chut, mademoiselle, we do not speak from a sitting position. Incroyable, ça. Il y a plus, je peux plus rien dire, moi. Tout le monde discute, on se bagarre pas, enfin bref. Honorable Lakiram, you will have the last question for this morning.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B 1205, please.
Madam Speaker, I thank the honourable member for this question, which gives me an opportunity to clarify the situation regarding the use of facilities under the purview of the Mauritius Sport Council by football academies, especially for young people aged 7 to 17. Madam Speaker, the football academies referred to in the question are, for the most part, private initiatives operating independently of my ministry. Madam Speaker, I'm informed that only one private academy, the Maber Fire Academy, is presently making use of the facilities of the Mauritius Sports Council for its training sessions. With regard to the fees payable, I wish to reassure the House that the Mauritius Sport Council does not charge any rental fees at all for the training session of this academy. The only cost that arises is overtime for ND workers, and that too applies only when the academy uses the ground outside normal operating hours. I'm informed that the rate varies depending on the grade of the officer and whether the activities are held on weekdays or weekends. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the question of waiving rental fees does not arise because there are no rental fees being charged in the first place.
Yes, Mr. Karam.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Could the Honourable Minister inform the House whether he would consider waiving the user fees?
User fees.
Madam Speaker, since assuming office, I have always fought to democratize access to our sport facilities. However, today, in the light of the state of the economy, the Ministry of Finance has opined that waiving of users' fees will have an adverse impact on revenue, generating capacity, and be counterproductive to fiscal consolidation. The payment of fees, even minimum, develop a sense of belongingness while using the sport facilities and help to sensitize users towards a proper behavior in the use of public infrastructure. In addition, the revenue being generated contributes toward the maintenance of the sports infrastructure.
Yes, Mr. Juman. Welcome back.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je veux demander à l'honorable ministre si, dans le processus de promouvoir le football, si ce n'est pas, nécessaire, c'est un must pour exempter les écoles de foot de tous les frais pour promouvoir le football. C'est un must.
Les écoles de foot. Les écoles.
I'm glad that the honourable members asked that question because, like I just replied, I make a demand to the Ministry of Finance, but unfortunately, with the state of the economy, we cannot do that for the time being. Probably in the next budget, we are going to see.
C'est pas lui qui décide, vous voyez, c'est pas lui qui décide. Members, we're going to break in a minute. May I tell you that I have been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. Mr. Bagwan, yes, B1215, 1219, 1224, 1232, 1208, 1176, 1229, 1214. Now we break. Now we can chat. Now we break until a little bit after 2:30.